Hello everyone. If you like this audiobook and want to listen to more, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, like it as well, that it enjoy.
Naruto. The life consumed by Baryon Mode, it wasn't yours, Naruto. It was mine. Kurama's voice grew fainter and fainter as his enormous body slowly began to fade away, yet there was an unusual ease in his tone. Kurama. Naruto's mind went blank. He had already prepared himself to disappear, yet now he could only stare helplessly as the nine tails gradually vanished before his eyes. Since the day he was born, this companion had been with him through hatred, conflict, suffering, and support. But they had never truly been separated. And now, Kurama was disappearing. For his sake, it felt as though Naruto's heart were being torn apart by invisible claws. The strongest man in the shinobi world, Konoha's seventh Hokage, the great hero who had saved the world more than once. Uzumaki Naruto. At this moment, that legendary ninja became once more the lonely, helpless blonde child he used to be. An indescribable fear overwhelmed him, causing him to collapse onto the ground. He wanted to scream, to beg Kurama to stay. But before he could say anything, Kurama slowly raised a fist and stopped it in front of him. This was their ritual. No matter when or where, as long as they bumped fists, their hearts would understand one another. Naruto stared blankly at Kurama's already fading form, at the gigantic fist held before him. After a long silence, he finally raised his own hand. For the last time, he bumped fists with Kurama. Smack. Naruto abruptly woke in the real world. Exhausted beyond measure, he lay sprawled on the ground, feeling the complete absence of the tailed beast's chakra within him. In a helpless whisper, he muttered, "Kurama." At the same time, Kurama's consciousness faded into nothingness. He was a tailed beast, a mass of chakra, not an ordinary lifeform. In theory, the nine tails could never truly die. Given enough time, his chakra would gather once more, allowing him to be reborn. But as the strongest of the tailed beasts, although Kurama had been controlled and sealed by others since the Sage of Six Paths created him, he had never truly ceased to exist before. So while resurrection was theoretically possible, even Kurama himself didn't know whether he would truly return. And more importantly, he had no idea how long it would take. In the final instant before his consciousness vanished completely, only a single thought remained in Kurama's mind. He hoped his rebirth wouldn't take too long. At the very least, he wanted to see Naruto again. With that final thought, the nine tails disappeared entirely from the world, waiting for the day his chakra would gather once more and revive him. At least, that was how it should have happened. Yet the moment Kurama lost consciousness, he suddenly awakened again almost instantly. A suffocating, oppressive aura surrounded him, filled with overwhelming hostility that made him deeply uncomfortable. What's going on? I've already revived. Having never experienced resurrection before, Kurama froze for a moment. But when he tried to examine his own condition, he quickly realized something was wrong. He hadn't fully revived, not even halfway. Damn it, who turned me into this? Kurama roared furiously, but alongside his rage, he also felt pain. Pain coming both from himself and from the surrounding environment. Black mist and strange, sinister energy filled the area. The atmosphere was so unsettling that it drove him into restless agitation and torment, as though he had been trapped inside a prison built solely to torture its inmates. Was it an enemy again? Had someone laid a trap during his resurrection process? He loathed this sensation intensely. Yet at the same time, it felt oddly familiar. His body seemed restrained by some invisible force, while countless malicious presences writhed around him endlessly. The combination of shock and fury made Kurama instinctively shout, "Naruto, something's seriously wrong here. What's happening on your side?" But the moment the words left his mouth, Kurama abruptly realized. There was no response, the resonance unique to a perfect jinchūriki, the bond between him and Naruto. It was gone. Naruto was no longer there. A complicated emotion surged within Kurama's heart, mixed with a nameless fury and an overwhelming sense of helpless frustration. Had his resurrection taken too long? Had Naruto already? Kurama, who had lowered his head moments earlier, suddenly sensed something. A startled sound escaped his mouth, while his massive fox eyes filled with confusion and delight. The call he had sent out had received an answer. He sensed Naruto. The response was extremely weak, but there was no doubt about it, it was Naruto's presence. However, the emotions carried within that response were filled with fear and curiosity. Still, the joy of recovering what he thought he had lost made Kurama ignore those strange emotions entirely. He immediately gathered what little strength he had left and forcefully pulled the responding Naruto toward him. And then, Kurama stared blankly at the familiar blonde hair before him, as well as the 6 whisker-like marks on the child's cheeks. There was no question that the owner of the terrified expression standing before him was Naruto. But, Kurama looked at the trembling little brat sitting on the ground. Despite shaking from head to toe, the kid still stubbornly stared at him with wide eyes, even pointing a finger at him while trying desperately to compare this image with the Naruto in his memories. Monster. After trembling for several seconds, Naruto finally let out a shrill scream. Then he scrambled to his feet and began fleeing wildly in panic. Though in this pitch-black place where east, west, north, and south couldn't even be distinguished, the kid was really just running in circles. Still, the sight finally snapped Kurama out of his drifting thoughts. He flicked one of his tails and slammed it heavily against the ground. Boom! The instant the tremendous force struck, the entire space shook violently. The tiny figure shouting and running around immediately lost his balance and crashed face-first onto the floor. Ow, that hurts. What was that for? Little Naruto clutched his nose with tears in his eyes, his face flushed red from the impact. The intense pain temporarily overwhelmed his fear, and while rubbing his face, he actually dared to yell angrily at Kurama. Wah, I'm bleeding, calm down, this is your inner world. There's no physical body here. Kurama snorted. The massive airflow from his voice alone blew little Naruto stumbling backward again. As the boy struggled to climb back to his feet, Kurama continued. Keep calm, I won't hurt you, and stop imagining nonsense. The reason you got hurt, and why my breath can knock you over, is entirely because you think it can. Huh, little Naruto rubbed his face as he finally managed to stand up. He clearly hadn't fully understood Kurama's explanation, but after all that chaos, most of his fear seemed to have faded. Even Kurama could sense the icy, oppressive atmosphere around them weakening considerably. Then the little boy slowly turned around. For the first time, those large blue eyes seriously looked at Kurama. And after examining him once more, Kurama confirmed one undeniable fact. That tiny body, barely as long as one of his claws, the oversized scarf, the mismatched goggles, and the orange and gray jacket bearing the Uzumaki crest. This was Naruto at 3 or 4 years old. 0 comments 0 vote. Minato Namikaze. Tailed beasts were masses of chakra condensed into form, not living creatures in the traditional sense. At their core, they were simply energy. So Kurama wasn't surprised by his own revival. After all, when facing an enemy like Isshiki Ōtsutsuki, the Baryon Mode he provided Naruto was essentially the result of burning his own chakra as fuel. But chakra that had been exhausted didn't truly vanish. It merely transformed into another state, much like water turning into vapor after being burned away. Once his chakra recovered and gathered back into the form of a tailed beast, he would naturally revive. It would simply take time. That was why Kurama had always known his resurrection was inevitable. But looking at the little Naruto before him, this situation was definitely not the kind of revival he had expected. He was supposed to revive after time had passed. Since when did time move backward? So, where exactly is this place? Huh, looking closer, you're locked up in there. This gate's huge. Hey, say something. What kind of monster are you? Why are you here? Hey, if you don't answer, I'm leaving. Listening to the non-stop chatter beside him, Kurama, already irritated by the bizarre atmosphere around him, scraped his claws against the floor impatiently. Damn it, forget that for now. Hey, Naruto. Kurama's sudden voice startled Naruto so badly that he instinctively snapped upright. Yes, go remove this 8 trigram seal. Staying inside here feels terrible. Kurama lifted a long, sharp claw and tapped against the bars in the seal talisman attached to them. How do you know my name? Little Naruto rubbed his ears and followed Kurama's gesture. He noticed the strange seal paper attached to the central bar of the gate, covered in bizarre markings that made him instinctively uneasy. He froze where he stood. What's wrong? Hurry up and tear it off. Kurama frowned at Naruto spacing out. Don't tell me you're scared I'll come out and hurt you. Huh, taking that off will let you out. Naruto blinked before asking belatedly. Then why don't you tear it off yourself? I can't touch it at all. Unless your heart wavers, I can't even extend my claws through the 8 trigram seal, tch. Anyway, just go tear it off already. Kurama sounded somewhat frustrated. He was beginning to miss the Naruto who understood him completely, not this little brat in front of him. And despite repeating himself several times, little Naruto still stood there staring up at the seal on the bars. After a while, he glanced back at Kurama inside the cage. Then he walked over and touched the bars curiously before cautiously reaching a hand inside and quickly pulling it back again, looking deep in thought. So even at this age, Naruto had already been wary of him. Well, that made sense. Hadn't all the suffering Naruto endured as a child been caused by him, the demon fox? Watching little Naruto thinking so seriously made Kurama feel even more irritated. A long silence passed. Hey, if you don't want to tear it off, Seeing Naruto still standing there motionless, Kurama had already begun thinking about other options when Naruto suddenly interrupted him. Alright, I figured it out, wait there. Little Naruto smacked his fist into his palm. After thinking for quite some time, he finally revealed a bright grin before suddenly dashing away. Under Kurama's surprised gaze, Naruto ran directly to the bar with the seal attached to it. Standing there without the slightest hesitation, he looked up at the enormous fox, then removed his scarf and the Uzumaki emblazoned jacket he was wearing. Under Kurama's puzzled stare, Naruto reluctantly tied the two together into a long makeshift rope. Naruto, what are you doing? Isn't it obvious? I'm figuring out how to climb up there and help you tear off the paper. Naruto wrapped one end around his waist, then handed the remaining length toward Kurama through the bars. Here, pull me up. Otherwise I can't reach it. Kurama stared blankly at the boy who completely ignored common sense. Come on already, your place is super cold, Naruto urged impatiently. So, he'd been thinking about how to climb up. You are willing to help me? For some reason, the question escaped Kurama's mouth before he could stop it. Weren't you terrified of me just a moment ago? Anyone would be scared the first time they saw a giant like you. Naruto flashed him a brilliant smile and gave a thumbs up. But it's okay now, seeing you somehow feels really familiar. And you don't seem annoying. You're not like everyone else who acts like they don't need me, so of course I'll help you. Kurama froze briefly, then the corners of the giant fox's mouth curled upward ever so slightly. The anxiety he had felt since awakening vanished instantly. The Naruto before him was still the Naruto he knew. Kurama extended a claw, grabbed the improvised rope, and lifted Naruto upward. Halfway up, the boy squirmed a little from the cloth digging painfully into his stomach, but before long he had reached the height of the seal. Without the slightest hesitation, Naruto stretched out his small hand and grabbed the sealing talisman attached to the bars. With only a bit more force, he could completely remove the seal restraining Kurama. But at the next moment, a slender arm gently caught Naruto's hand and pulled him backward. You can't do that, Naruto. The moment Naruto heard the voice and instinctively turned around, dizziness overwhelmed him. Then he lost consciousness. Kurama watched with interest as Naruto's body vanished before him. He showed no surprise, merely shifting his gaze toward the newly appeared figure created by the seal. Although I deliberately left behind some chakra as a safeguard, I never imagined the seal would weaken this badly. To think you'd already be capable of infiltrating and manipulating Naruto in only a few years. The blond man withdrew the gentle smile from his face and stared solemnly at Kurama behind the cage. Nine Tails, you truly are powerful. The fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Kurama bared his teeth slightly. What, didn't you leave behind this chakra specifically to reinforce the seal in situations like this? Konoha's fourth Hokage, the Yellow Flash, Minato Namikaze. Once a legendary figure who shook the shinobi world, he now wore a grave expression tinged with despair. He couldn't understand why the safeguard he left inside Naruto had activated so soon. More importantly, the instant he made contact with little Naruto, Kurama had deliberately severed Naruto's connection to him. Kurama had done it voluntarily. He hadn't even given Minato time to warn Naruto. This level of control over Naruto's inner world should have been impossible for Kurama while still sealed. And according to the memories of the chakra Minato had left behind, the 9 tails inside Naruto at this point wasn't even complete. The legendary tailed beasts are even harder to deal with than I imagined. Minato sighed quietly. Still, he had no intention of wasting words with Kurama. The amount of chakra he had left behind wasn't much, and he needed to reinforce the seal immediately. But before Minato could move, Kurama's next words made him freeze in place. Come over here, I'll give you some chakra so that body of yours doesn't disappear. Kurama casually swished his tails as he spoke in an unexpectedly relaxed tone. 0 comments 0 vote. A storm approaches. Beside a snow-covered lamp-post, little Naruto slowly opened his eyes and instinctively finished the words he had failed to say earlier. You are, huh? He looked around at the familiar surroundings, scratching his small head in confusion. After a long pause, he lowered his head suspiciously to look at his perfectly intact clothes and the red scarf still wrapped snugly around his neck. Then he muttered groggily. Was that a dream? There were no towering iron bars before him. No gigantic monster fox behind them. Only the familiar streets around him. The dream had felt unbelievably real, as though it had truly happened right in front of him. And unlike ordinary dreams, he remembered every detail clearly. Still, he was only a child. He simply assumed he had accidentally fallen asleep beside the lamp post. Getting to his feet, he prepared to head home when he suddenly noticed something strange. Huh, that's weird. It's snowing today, but I'm not cold at all. Naruto rubbed his hands together. The redness and numbness from the freezing cold that usually plagued him every day were completely gone. Instead, his entire body felt comfortably warm. The sensation made him grin happily. Only then did he remember why he had been here in the first place. He had just escorted that strange white-eyed little girl home earlier. Had he really fallen asleep on the roadside after walking only a little farther? Looks like my body's too weak. Maybe tomorrow I should eat something good. Ah, right, I don't have money. Maybe I can find something outside to eat. Naruto wandered off while thinking to himself, completely unaware that not far behind him, a Konoha ninja wearing a forehead protector silently revealed himself from the shadows. Looking bored, the ninja flipped open a notebook and began writing. Quote. Target remained motionless for 3 minutes. During that period, abnormal chakra fluctuations were detected. Reasonable suspicion. Contact with the Hyuga clan residents caused psychological disparity. Suggest providing limited supplies to increase goodwill. After hastily jotting down a few lines, the Konoha ninja snapped the notebook shut and vanished with a body flicker technique, leaving not even footprints behind. A flawless tailing operation. Unfortunately for him, every movement had been completely observed by 2 pairs of eyes. So, this is the kind of treatment your son Naruto receives in the village, 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze. Kurama lay lazily on the ground, yawning as he looked at Minato's darkened expression beyond the bars. Oh, and if you can still count, your son is only 3 years old right now. Everything you've shown me could simply be an illusion designed to provoke me into releasing you, that's what I should be thinking. Minato stood silently for a moment before slowly exhaling. But I can't deceive myself. Everything you said is probably true. Lying is a human specialty. This old man has no interest in such pointless hypocrisy. Kurama responded indifferently. Minato's blue eyes glanced over his own body. Vast amounts of Kurama's chakra surged around him endlessly. Although it was still the same sinister crimson chakra he remembered, it no longer carried the overwhelming malice and violent hatred Kushina's seal once constantly suppressed. After all, this old man is still sealed. I can only share this much power. As though reading Minato's thoughts, Kurama continued calmly. But for your current state, this amount of chakra is enough to preserve your soul for a very long time. Why? Minato asked quietly. HMPH. Kurama didn't answer directly. Instead, memories surfaced in his mind. That tiny lonely figure living by himself within the village. That boy who had done absolutely nothing wrong, yet was met only with cold stares from everyone around him. That child who had been repeatedly used by others simply because they wanted to control the 9 tails. Naruto, who only learned the truth of his own birth after saving everything. He shouldn't have had to live like that. This old man doesn't know how to teach someone ninjutsu. Isn't it better for you to teach your own son yourself? Kurama gave a dismissive excuse. Although Minato could tell there were deeper reasons behind Kurama's actions, there was nothing he could do if the fox refused to explain. And just as Kurama had said, being able to remain here like this, watching Naruto, even personally guiding his growth, was already a result Minato could accept. Especially for someone who had died early carrying endless guilt. Then why didn't you let Naruto truly remove the seal? Minato changed the subject. Not yet. This time, Kurama answered directly. A trace of vigilance appeared within his massive fox eyes. If the seal is broken now, Naruto won't be able to control this old man's chakra. And once my chakra is detected, the person who attacked you before will act again. Kurama's voice lowered slightly. And Konoha as it currently is, can't really help us. The masked man, Uchiha Madara, Minato's expression turned grave. No, Madara is already dead, the one behind everything was your student, Uchiha Obito. Kurama's words crashed into Minato's heart like thunder. Even in his wildest dreams, he never imagined he would hear Obito's name here. That's impossible, HMPH, don't rush, this old man will tell you everything. Kurama looked at Minato and knew the fourth Hokage was still wary of him. But Kurama didn't care, although he had no idea why he had been reborn during this era. Merely recalling the threat of the Ōtsutsuki clan still sent chills through even a tailed beast who had lived for ages. Yet compared to fear, Kurama felt something stronger. Defiance. So what if they were the Ōtsutsuki clan? Together with Naruto, he had already defeated a godlike being such as Isshiki Ōtsutsuki once before. Back then, their enemies had lurked in the shadows. But now that fate had given them another chance, he could change everything. He would crush even the entire Ōtsutsuki clan beneath his feet. Meanwhile, inside the Hokage's office in Konoha. I understand, good work. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, listened to the report while slowly taking a long drag from his pipe. A trace of relief appeared on his aged face. A child's jealousy or envy is still a form of negative emotion. It merely caused a slight leak of the Ninetales chakra. There's no need to make a fuss over it. Yes, the Konoha ninja who had previously tailed Naruto stood respectfully before the Hokage. Upon hearing Hiruzen's response, he showed no objections. Then I'll return and continue the mission. Oh, no need to rush. The third Hokage rose from his chair and waved a hand with a smile. You won't need to continue that mission anymore. Go get some rest, I'm going out for some air. With that, Hiruzen slowly walked out of the office with his hands behind his back, leaving only the Chūnin standing there alone. After a long silence, the Konoha Chūnin let out a sigh and pulled the notebook from his clothes before passing it backward. A hand stretched out from the darkness and accepted it. Then a faint sigh echoed through the room. Hiruzen has already noticed your identity. Return to root. You no longer need to concern yourself with the Nine Tails. Yes, the Chūnin's response remained just as brief and emotionless. The night gradually deepened, and the brightly lit Hokage's office finally fell into complete darkness after its occupants departed. 0 comments 0 vote, freedom, Konoha's Hokage advisor, Danzo Shimura. Leader of the organization known as the Darkness of Konoha, he represented the village's shadow alongside the publicly revered third Hokage. In his own mind, his contributions far surpassed Hiruzen Sarutobi's, yet the third Hokage had strictly forbidden him from interfering in anything related to the Ninetales jinchūriki, Uzumaki Naruto. Danzo reached for the notebook. But the moment he opened it, the words recorded on the pages in special ink suddenly twisted and distorted before bursting into black flames that instantly consumed the entire notebook. Danzo's expression darkened, recalling the Konoha Chūnin who had stood there earlier, especially that mechanical, emotionless manner of speaking. He quickly realized something. HMPH, a sealing technique. Hiruzen's blatant warning irritated Danzo immensely. But at present, the third Hokage's reputation as the professor and the strongest Hokage still resounded throughout the shinobi world. Danzo had no choice but to suppress his anger instead of openly confronting him. With a cold snort, he flicked his sleeve and departed. Meanwhile, inside Naruto's mental world, all of this. After hearing Kurama's explanation, given without much concealment, Minato Namikaze's heart churned violently. He had never imagined the truth behind everything traced all the way back to the Sage of Six Paths, Mother, the very origin of all shinobi. Kagaya Ōtsutsuki, the Sage of Six Paths. Asura. Indra. So after learning all this, what do you intend to do? Kurama grinned as he watched Minato's expression. Still planning to keep your guard up against this old man. Minato fell silent for a long time, while Kurama patiently waited for his answer. The other half of you, along with my soul, is sealed inside the Shinigami summoned by the dead demon consuming seal. At last, Minato chose to trust Kurama. If we want to restore you completely, we'll first need to undo the dead demon consuming seal and allow my soul to return to reality with the other half of you. But neither you nor I can accomplish that right now. No problem, just telling this old man the method is enough. Kurama sounded unconcerned. That was right, Kurama had explained the future to Minato and pointed out that the other half of himself, sealed away by Minato and offered to the Shinigami, was the true key. Kurama understood Minato and Kushina's personalities very well. If he had truly returned to the past, then at this point in time, Minato was unquestionably one of the few people in the world who would help both him and Naruto without hesitation. The chakra Minato left inside Naruto was linked directly to his soul, a final safeguard left for his son. Or rather, the Naruto from the future had once nearly released Kurama after being manipulated during a berserk state, only to be stopped by this very failsafe Minato had prepared. The fourth Hokage, even in death, every step that man arranged had been calculated countless moves ahead. At present, Kurama was incomplete. Without the missing half of his power, even if the seal were removed right now, little Naruto's current abilities would be nowhere near enough to control him. In the current shinobi world, there were likely no fewer than a dozen people capable of easily suppressing them. Naruto was not yet the strongest shinobi alive. To others, he was merely the container of a tailed beast. Konoha's living weapon. Anyone in the world who coveted Kurama's power would become a danger to Naruto. The inevitable arrival of the Ōtsutsuki Clan, Uchiha Obito, the Akatsuki, Orochimaru, the other four great nations. Even Konoha itself, Kurama was not some ignorant beast. Having witnessed endless darkness within humanity through generations of jinchūriki, he understood one thing perfectly. Until they possessed enough strength, they absolutely could not entrust the future to so-called human kindness. The old Kurama might not have cared, but after forming a bond with Naruto, Naruto's safety naturally became his concern as well. After undoing the dead demon-consuming seal, what do you plan to do? Minato asked quietly. Once you recover your full power, will you leave Naruto's body? Leave. Minato slowly processed the overwhelming truths he had learned. Though his calm demeanor had weakened somewhat, he still spoke rationally. Even if all of this still feels unbelievable, Kurama, for some reason, I can no longer sense hatred from you. In fact, I don't think you're dangerous anymore. He looked directly at the giant fox. If this is truly who you are now, then I no longer have a reason to keep sealing you away. Once you recover your complete strength, even my 8 trigram seal won't be enough to restrain you anymore. The world is vast, there's nothing left that could truly imprison you. Minato paused slightly before asking, don't you want freedom? Freedom. The familiar word caused Kurama to freeze momentarily. As he stared at the blond man before him, another familiar figure suddenly overlapped with Minato in his memories, accompanied by a voice ringing in his ears. Kurama, have you ever thought about where you'd go afterward? I mean, if I end up becoming an old man like Lord Third someday, my lifespan's eventually going to run out too. Kurama silently listened. Hehe, I think having jinchūriki end with our generation would be pretty nice. After that, you and the others would all be free. In his memory, the man wearing the 7th Hokage's cloak stretched lazily inside the Hokage's office while grinning up at the sky. Back then, Kurama had never answered. He had merely closed his eyes lazily and continued lying within Naruto's inner world, avoiding the question through silence alone. After a long while, Kurama snorted disdainfully. HMPH, you're still just as annoying as ever, Minato. This old man already said I'm not as hypocritical as you humans, so stop trying to test me. If I leave, Naruto dies as the jinchūriki, doesn't he? Kurama's voice grew calmer. Relax. This old man plans to stay and watch him achieve his dream, and then grow old peacefully afterward. Hearing that answer, Minato finally revealed the warm smile that once defined him. Then I can rest easy. You're relaxing too early. Kurama's tone remained as unpleasant as ever, leaving Minato looking slightly awkward. But the next sentence immediately turned Minato serious again. The 3rd Hokage is coming to see Naruto. Beside a flowing stream, snow covered the riverbank while a thin layer of ice had already formed across the surface. Dressed far too lightly for winter, little Naruto was carefully searching for spots where fish might be hiding. He should have gone home and slept long ago, but his stomach was growling painfully from hunger. And for some reason, despite the falling snow, he didn't feel cold at all tonight. So he had simply decided to sneak out in the middle of the night to catch fish. Fish inside frozen winter streams tended to move sluggishly and were easier to catch. That was something Naruto had learned a long time ago. Well now, Naruto, what are you doing out here? At that moment, Hiruzen Sarutobi, wearing the robes of the 3rd Hokage, approached from nearby with a gentle smile on his face. 0 comments 0 vote. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Old Gramps. The moment Naruto saw who it was, his face lit up with excitement. He waved both hands energetically in the air, grinning brightly. As the third Hokage walked over, he quietly removed the Hokage cloak beneath the cover of night and neatly folded it in his arms. By the time Naruto got a clear look at him, all he saw was a kindly old man dressed in thick winter clothes. "Naruto, it's been a while," the third Hokage said with a smile, gently patting his head. "Yeah, I haven't seen you in a long time, old Gramps. How have you been lately?" I'm doing great. You should take care of yourself too, old Gramps." "Haha, don't worry, I may be old, but I'm not weak enough to need a kid like you worrying about me just yet." As he spoke, Hiruzen glanced toward the frozen river surface. Near where Naruto had been standing earlier was a small crack in the ice, clearly made by thrown stones. A thoughtful look flashed through Hiruzen's eyes. After chatting casually with Naruto for a while, he smoothly shifted the topic. "Naruto, it's awfully late for you to still be out here. It'll only get colder as the night goes on." His tone was warm and concerned. "Hehe, it's okay, I figured the fish would be asleep right now, so they'd be easier to catch. I'm not scared of the cold at all, Achu." "Huh, why'd I suddenly feel so cold?" Naruto had been about to tell the old man how strangely warm his whole body had felt all day. But the very next moment, icy wind suddenly swept over him, making him sneeze repeatedly. Little Naruto looked completely baffled. Seeing that, the third Hokage smiled warmly. Old Gramps, why are you carrying that cloak instead of wearing it?" Naruto rubbed his hands together awkwardly as he asked. Hiruzen chuckled. "I'm not cold either. Want to wear it instead?" Though phrased like a question, Hiruzen didn't wait for an answer. He had already seen through the little boy's thoughts and unfolded the Hokage cloak, draping it directly over Naruto's shoulders. For Naruto's tiny frame, the cloak was far too large. It wrapped around him like a blanket, completely enveloping his body. The slightly distorted words "third Hokage" happened to cover Naruto's little blonde head perfectly. And during the instant the cloak touched Naruto, Hiruzen had already inspected nearly every inch of the boy's body. No leakage of the Ninetales chakra. No abnormalities. The third Hokage silently reached his conclusion. Old Gramps, this cloak looks really nice. It'll get dirty if it drags on the ground." Completely unaware of Hiruzen's inspection, Naruto clutched the cloak around himself and looked worriedly at the portion dragging through the snow. It's fine. Hiruzen laughed heartily. "Naruto, the Hokage is basically the village elder. In other words, if my clothes can help keep you warm, then getting them dirty is well worth it." As he spoke, the third Hokage stood up and pulled out his pipe from his sleeve. "You're trying to catch fish to roast, right? You treated this old man to fish a few times before, so this time let me treat you instead." Hiruzen narrowed his eyes slightly. The pipe spun once in his hand, its pointed mouth aimed toward the frozen river before he flicked it forward like a shuriken. Whoosh! The sharp sound of something slicing through the air echoed through Konoha's midnight silence. Only after the sound of cracking ice rang out did Naruto react and hurriedly turned toward the stream. The crack in the ice he had created earlier now had a pipe embedded directly in its center. The pointed end of the pipe had pierced straight into the water, and skewered an unlucky fish passing beneath. "So amazing." Naruto stared with wide eyes. "Haha, looks like we're lucky tonight." The third Hokage smiled cheerfully. "Alright, Naruto, go bring the fish over. I'll start a fire." Soon, flames crackled beside the stream. 3 unfortunate river fish were skewered over the fire, their skin sizzling as an appetizing aroma filled the air. The old man and child sat on opposite sides of the fire without caring about appearances. But unlike before, Naruto wasn't focused solely on the roasting fish. Instead, he stared thoughtfully at the cloak wrapped around him. "Old Gramps, what's a Hokage?" At last, unable to suppress his curiosity any longer, he asked about the word Hiruzen had mentioned several times earlier. "You finally asked," Hiruzen thought to himself. "A Hokage is basically the village chief, or you could say the village elder." The third Hokage explained kindly. "The Hokage's duty is to protect the entire village and keep all the villagers safe. At the same time, they maintain order and establish rules. In short, they manage everything in the village." He smiled gently. "But a Hokage isn't some unreachable person above everyone else. For example, helping you catch fish tonight and making sure you don't go hungry, that's also something a Hokage can do. Because you're one of the village's people too, Naruto." "Oh, so that's how it is." Naruto seemed to understand only vaguely. He instinctively lifted his head and looked toward the enormous Konoha building towering in the distance. Seeing Naruto's expression, Hiruzen paused briefly before finally saying the words he had intended from the beginning. At the same time, the Hokage is also the person most trusted and acknowledged by everyone in the village. Only someone recognized by everyone can become Hokage, because the Hokage protects the peace of the village and the lives of all its people. Just as expected, the moment Hiruzen mentioned trust and acknowledgement, a distinct light appeared in Naruto's eyes. That was exactly what he longed for. Seeing his objective achieved, Hiruzen chose not to elaborate further. He simply picked up his pipe again and carefully wiped away the small traces of fish blood remaining on it. His primary reason for coming here tonight was naturally to inspect whether anything was wrong with the nine tails inside Naruto. For Konoha, the safety of the nine tails jinchūriki was critically important. At the same time, on his way here, Hiruzen had already quietly removed several spies Danzo had left nearby. Danzo's obsession with the nine tails unsettled Hiruzen. It reminded him of how obsessively Danzo had targeted the Uchiha clan after the Nine Tails incident years ago. The Nine Tails had required the fourth Hokage's life to seal away. Yet the Sharingan possessed the ability to control it. As for what Danzo, who constantly coveted the position of Hokage, intended to do, Hiruzen could easily guess. However, the Uchiha clan's suspicion truly was too great. Everyone in the world knew that the Sharingan was the Uchiha clan's Kekkei Genkai. No one else should have possessed the power necessary to control the Nine Tails and attack Konoha. And because of that, Hiruzen had tacitly permitted many of Danzo's increasingly harsh actions against the Uchiha clan. After all, the second Hokage had once done the same. Still, what Hiruzen truly hoped for was for Naruto, the Nine Tails Jinchūriki, to become a Konoha shinobi who inherited the will of fire. He once heard Minato Namikaze mention that Kumogakure's eight tails Jinchūriki could freely control the tailed beast's power in battle, possessing strength rivaling even the Raikage who had once fought Minato himself. Therefore, if Naruto could grow up embracing the dream of becoming Hokage from childhood onward, that would be the ideal outcome. 0 comments 0 vote. Kurama's plan. Lord Third. Inside Naruto's inner world, Minato Namikaze wore a complicated expression. He understood Hiruzen's intentions. He understood what the third Hokage, who had already retired once, only to be forced back into the position, truly desired. What Hiruzen wanted to maintain was balance and stability. The balance between the five great nations. The stability within Konoha itself. Just like the policies established by the previous Hokage. Although during Minato's time as Hokage, Hiruzen had fully supported his reforms and changes within the village, after Minato's death, the elderly Hiruzen who reluctantly resumed the title of Hokage had already lost the aggressive ambition to push forward. As someone who had once served as Hokage himself, Minato completely understood Hiruzen's thoughts and actions. But the sacrificed party in all this was Naruto. The only child he and Kushina had left behind. Looks like you understand it too. Kurama's voice sounded at the perfect moment, carrying faint ridicule. The orphan Naruto was hidden away at first, and after leaving the orphanage, it was Hiruzen secretly taking care of him, but only to that extent. Kurama's massive tail swayed slightly. He's not stupid enough to treat Naruto as this old man himself like the other fools in the village do, but he also never properly concealed Naruto's identity. He should have grown up enjoying the treatment due to a hero's son. No, forget that. Kurama corrected himself. As the vessel who sealed the Nine Tails since birth, he was already a hero to begin with. Quote. Contrary to Kurama's expectations, Minato didn't explode in anger. Instead, he looked at Kurama with a strangely relieved expression. That gaze made Kurama uncomfortable. He bared his teeth slightly. What? I'm just relieved. Minato smiled gently. Relieved that Naruto has you. A companion willing to stand up for him like this. And you said it yourself, in the future, he'll have countless companions. That's enough. Shut up already, Minato. Kurama clearly wasn't used to this kind of sentimental conversation and snorted coldly. I've already told you this much. You know what to do next, right? Red chakra flickered within Minato's blue eyes. The power belonging uniquely to the Nine Tails surged around him with overwhelming force. As long as this old man remains sealed, I can't freely use my power. Kurama lazily lay back down again, looking utterly drained. And it also interferes with Naruto's own chakra. So this old man plans to suppress my chakra as much as possible. In that case, Naruto's own chakra potential will continue increasing. Someone needs to guide him, teach him how to use that power and grow stronger. Kushina's Uzumaki bloodline, Minato immediately understood. The chakra Kurama referred to was Naruto's natural chakra reserve, the enormous vitality and chakra inherited from the Uzumaki clan, which would continue growing as Naruto matured. The Naruto from before, the former Naruto, no, the future Naruto, wait, that's not right either. Kurama frowned awkwardly, clearly unable to find an appropriate description. Minato immediately nodded in understanding and seriously suggested. How about the future Naruto from the past? Or since he's already the 7th Hokage and the strongest in the shinobi world, we could call him famous Naruto. Kurama stared at him speechlessly. Then he simply ignored Minato's naturally airheaded comment and continued speaking. Anyway, because that Naruto didn't reconcile with this old man early on, his development of his own power was insufficient. And this old man doesn't really understand those things either. Minato, I already told you what kind of enemies Naruto will face. As he spoke, Kurama slowly rose to his feet. The massive body of the Nine Tails stood towering before Minato, radiating an aura so ancient and powerful that even the 4th Hokage felt shaken. This was the Nine Tails that had existed since the era of the Sage of Six Paths. This time, Kurama's crimson eyes narrowed fiercely. This old man won't let those bastards strut around in front of Naruto ever again. For the first time in his life, Minato found himself thinking something he had never considered before. Perhaps the shinobi world had never truly understood the tailed beasts. Maybe humanity had simply been too arrogant. Perhaps the true rulers of this land were not necessarily humans at all. The snowfall intensified as the night deepened. After Naruto happily finished eating the grilled fish, Hiruzen escorted him back home. Only after the light inside Naruto's room went dark did the 3rd Hokage finally withdraw his gaze. The warm smile on his face disappeared instantly. Without turning around, he spoke toward the shadows of the night. From today onward, no one in the Anbu is permitted to approach Naruto. Within the shadow beneath a street lamp, a Konoha Anbu wearing a strange mask silently appeared behind him. The Anbu seemed surprised, but remained quiet while waiting for further instructions. From here on, I'll arrange for others to interact with Naruto. Hiruzen's eyes became sharp and profound. The Anbu seemed to have been tainted too deeply by darkness. If we want Naruto to become a jinchūriki capable of protecting the village, then what he needs is genuine emotional connection. After a brief pause, Hiruzen continued. Notify Shukaku. Tomorrow, have him bring me the current list of young instructors and Chūnin within the academy. Yes. After acknowledging the order, the Anbu vanished once again. Inside the room, Naruto was already overwhelmed with sleepiness after merely yawning once. Half awake, he hurriedly changed into his pajamas before collapsing onto the bed and immediately falling into deep sleep the moment his head touched the pillow. Inside the mental world, Naruto's asleep. Are you ready? Kurama opened his eyes. After withdrawing most of his power, he had been constantly monitoring Naruto's condition while watching Minato, who sat nearby in meditation. The crimson chakra cloak that had once surrounded Minato, formed from Kurama's chakra, had completely vanished now. Having fully mastered the portion of chakra Kurama gave him, Minato turned toward the fox. I'm ready anytime. Then he added curiously, by the way, according to your plan, if I teach Naruto techniques while he's dreaming, how much will he remember after waking up? That depends on his talent. Kurama answered uncertainly. Usually, remembering about half is already pretty good. But like this old man said before, to avoid outsiders noticing anything strange, Naruto won't realize he's dreaming inside the illusion I create. So he can't properly communicate with you the way he normally would. Kurama suddenly smirked. Thinking about it now, this is pretty funny. Back then, this old man only used this method to repeatedly force Naruto to relive painful memories and drown in loneliness. So honestly, I've got no clue how effective this'll be in practice. It might even have less than 20% effectiveness. 20%. Minato rested his chin on one hand and thought for a moment. Then he smiled confidently. That's more than enough. Kurama looked at him curiously. So what are you planning to teach him first? Minato's answer completely caught Kurama off guard. Without the slightest hesitation, he replied, Fuinjutsu. 0 comments 0 vote, dreams. So that brat is the one. The contemptuous gazes of passing villagers. Don't go near him, stay away from him. Parents pulling their children behind them while looking at him with disgust. Damn it, Why did the Hokage let this brat leave the orphanage? Even Konoha shinobi wearing forehead protectors made no effort to hide their hatred. The sunlight was clearly warm. So why did he always feel cold? Little Naruto walked down the street with his head lowered. The reactions of the people around him confused him. He didn't understand. He hadn't done anything wrong. So why did everyone in the village look at him like they hated him? At that moment, a slightly dirty rubber ball rolled to Naruto's feet and stopped. Naruto looked up in the direction the ball had come from. A child around his age was waving enthusiastically, signaling for Naruto to throw it back. A small smile appeared on Naruto's face. Just as he bent down to pick up the ball and walk toward the boy, the child's mother suddenly appeared, grabbed the boy, and hurried away from Naruto. Naruto's smile froze on his face. He stood there holding the ball. But when he looked around again, he realized the villagers who had been whispering insults had disappeared at some point as well. The entire world seemed to have left only him standing there alone. The blond child lowered his head blankly. His hands were empty. Even the ball was gone. He stood there all alone. No one. Naruto. A familiar voice suddenly called out from behind him. A blond man stood there, looking at him with guilt and tenderness. But Naruto showed no reaction. He merely stood there blankly. It's useless. This is his dream. Kurama's voice sounded at the right moment as he explained things to Minato. He's never seen what you look like. In his memories, in his dreams, you simply can't appear. I see. Minato nodded softly, though his gaze never left Naruto inside the dream. Kurama wasn't human. He knew he couldn't truly understand the complicated emotions Minato felt right now, nor did he intend to. He simply continued reminding him. Like this old man told you before, you need to become someone Naruto recognizes. Only then can you approach him inside the dream. Only after he reacts to you in the dream can you truly influence him, and begin teaching him things. Minato nodded again, but he still remained standing behind Naruto instead of following Kurama's suggestion. He simply called Naruto's name once more. Only this time, after saying Naruto's name, Minato added quietly. Your mother, Kushina, loved you very much. As though triggered by certain words, another pair of figures appeared before Naruto. A mother leading her child out to eat ramen. Both of them wore bright smiles as they walked past Naruto. Naruto still stood motionless, watching the mother and child disappear into the distance. He still hadn't heard Minato's voice. Still gave no reaction. But Kurama seemed to understand what Minato was trying to do this time. And for once, he stopped urging him. Inside Naruto's dream, people and scenes constantly appeared around the little boy, only to vanish again moments later. Cold and indifferent villagers. Groups of children mocking him. The third Hokage, one of the few people who occasionally brought warmth into Naruto's life. But appearing before him more than anything else was himself, crying alone in hidden corners. Minato stood silently behind little Naruto, watching every person and every face that appeared. He even saw some people he himself had once known well. In Minato's memories, those people had always shown him respect. But before Naruto, Minato could see the malice hidden deep within them. Perhaps their hatred wasn't truly directed at a 3-year-old child. Yet Naruto was the one forced to bear that hatred. Minato remained standing behind Naruto, repeating similar words again and again. But each sentence carried slight differences. Every word Minato spoke was filled with love, guilt, and encouragement. Kurama quietly observed the father and son. Until after some time, he finally spoke. Time's up. The moment his voice fell, the scenery before Minato suddenly changed. Little Naruto vanished from sight. In his place remained the dark, enclosed mental world once more, along with the gigantic 9 tails sitting behind the bars. Is it over? Minato slowly closed his eyes, seemingly recalling everything he had just witnessed. Kurama yawned lazily. Time flows differently in dreams. You might think only a short while passed, but it's already morning in reality. Naruto's awake now. I see, time really flies. Minato made no attempt to hide the sorrow in his expression. So what exactly were you trying to accomplish all night? Kurama narrowed his eyes slightly, mockery evident in his tone. Don't tell this old man you forgot the fact that you're already dead. Minato remained silent at first. Then after a moment, he said. Can you observe Naruto's reaction after waking up? Has anything changed? HMPH. He's currently sitting on his bed spacing out. Kurama paused briefly. He muttered the word, Mom. And then, it seemed Kurama had realized something. He also mentioned words like, Hokage, and, recognition, and now he's getting up to make breakfast. I mentioned Kushina's name 26 times. Minato spoke calmly. I mentioned the word, mother, 17 times. And I only mentioned Hokage once. As he spoke, he compared the keywords with Naruto's current reactions described by Kurama. After a long pause, Minato reached a conclusion. Less than 20%. He sighed softly. Judging from just one night, the influence was probably less than 10%. Even after an entire night, I still couldn't properly convey his mother's name to him. I thought, at the very least, I could comfort him through his dreams. Kushina definitely would have wanted that. Well, Naruto doesn't have any memories of you or Kushina. Kurama awkwardly tried to console him. You kept mentioning her, but to Naruto right now, she's just an unfamiliar concept. Naturally, that kind of thing is easy to forget in dreams. Kurama suddenly stopped mid-sentence. The surprise in Kurama's tone immediately caught Minato's attention. What is it? Kurama didn't answer. Meanwhile, in the real world, Naruto sat bored at his table eating instant noodles. Dipping a finger into some water, he absent-mindedly scribbled across the tabletop while muttering under his breath. Kushi, what was it again? Maybe things aren't as hopeless as you think. Kurama glanced toward Minato and grinned. Since arriving within Naruto's sealed mental world, for the very first time, Minato Namikaze smiled from the bottom of his heart. Unable to stop himself, he softly murmured, Kushina, Naruto really is a wonderful child. 0 comments 0 vote, change. The streets of Konoha were filled with laughter and lively chatter. Not long ago, Konoha had finally signed a ceasefire agreement with Kumogakure. Peace had at last returned to the village, if only slightly, and smiles had gradually reappeared on the villagers' faces. This mission was seriously exhausting. Kumogakure finally calmed down for once. So where are we eating today? Akunoichi stretched lazily while chatting with her teammate as they walked through the village after returning from a mission. Ramen, her teammate answered instantly. There you go again, every single time you come back to the village, you want ramen. The kunoichi sighed helplessly, but it really is delicious, oof. The shinobi turned his head, intending to passionately explain the greatness of ramen, only to accidentally bump into someone. The small figure stumbled backward. Yet before the shinobi could reach out to catch him, the figure naturally performed a clean back handspring and landed steadily on his feet. Then he straightened up calmly. Nice reflexes. The Konoha shinobi's eyes lit up with surprise. But he quickly remembered to apologize and hurried forward. Sorry about that, kid. I wasn't paying attention and bumped into. Then he finally saw the boy clearly, and instinctively froze. However, the other party seemed completely used to this kind of reaction. He merely glanced up at the shinobi and casually tossed out, I'm fine. Then he turned and walked away beneath the shinobi's gaze. Maybe it was just an illusion, but as they passed each other, the shinobi vaguely heard the boy mutter, Ramen, hey, what's wrong with you? At that moment, the female teammate walked over and smacked the shinobi lightly on the shoulder. Nothing, I just didn't expect it to be that demon fox. The Konoha shinobi, who had become a Chūnin last year, wore a complicated expression. 4 years ago, his mentor had died during the Nine Tails incident. Naturally, he couldn't simply forget that hatred. But when it came to this incarnation of the demon fox, the Hokage spoke of, truthfully, he couldn't bring himself to feel much hatred toward the child. After becoming a shinobi and carrying out missions outside the village, he had learned far more about the world than ordinary villagers. Compared to the true darkness of the shinobi world, what was so terrifying about a child? So that's him. The kunoichi blinked curiously while staring at the blonde boy's retreating back. Doesn't look particularly special. Anyway, which ramen shop are we going to? I suddenly lost my appetite. And it's way too hot for ramen. The Chūnin shook his head before sighing. Forget it, my treat. Let's go eat something good instead. His teammate immediately brightened at that suggestion. This was Naruto's everyday life. He had already grown accustomed to the villagers treating him differently. But compared to before, Naruto no longer cared about it as much. Instead, he had started thinking about the strange things happening to him lately. Over the past 6 months, several odd changes had appeared. For example, every time he fell asleep, he vaguely dreamed of a warm figure. That person always seemed to speak to him endlessly inside the dream, yet whenever Naruto woke up, he could never remember what had been said. And every time he woke up, he would somehow perform actions he had never known before. Like just now, the instant he lost balance, his body naturally reacted with a back handspring as though he had practiced the movement countless times already. Yet he had no memory of ever learning it. More and more things like that had started happening recently. Sometimes Naruto encountered objects he had never seen before, yet they somehow felt strangely familiar. Sometimes there were words he clearly shouldn't have been able to read. Yet somehow, he could pronounce them naturally. And Naruto raised his head and narrowed his eyes toward the blazing sun hanging overhead. Many villagers had already hidden themselves beneath roofs and trees to escape the heat. But Naruto didn't feel hot at all, just like how he hadn't felt cold during the snowfall before. The only strange thing was that every time he woke up, he became unbelievably hungry. As though he had spent the entire night running non-stop. Grr, his stomach growled loudly at the worst possible moment. Naruto awkwardly rubbed his belly before reaching into his pocket. All he found were a few dirty coins. Sigh, thinking about the ramen those two shinobi mentioned earlier, Naruto immediately became conflicted. Every month, someone from the village gave him living assistance. But it wasn't much, at least, not from Naruto's perspective. With this much money, I could buy 5 loaves of bread. Naruto sighed bitterly, but if I want ramen. He stood there struggling internally. Meanwhile, inside Naruto's mental world, there happened to be 2 beings even more troubled than Naruto himself as they held a not particularly intense discussion regarding his next meal. There's an ninjutsu that can turn water and earth into edible food using chakra. Minato said seriously while thinking. The taste isn't very good, but it's enough to fill someone's stomach. Quite a few shinobi used it during wartime. If we start teaching him today, he should learn it by next month. No, Kurama rejected the idea instantly. Didn't this old man already tell you? We can't teach Naruto ninjutsu too early. The moment Naruto starts using techniques nobody has ever seen before, he'll inevitably attract unnecessary suspicion. Kurama rolled his eyes afterward. You really are panicking because you're his father. Hiruzen won't actually let Naruto starve to death. I should have left more money behind for Naruto. Minato still looked upset. If I hadn't listened to Kushina and secretly hidden some private savings under the bed or something, I could have left them for him. Kurama immediately rolled his eyes even harder. Internally, he couldn't stop himself from complaining. This brat Minato was obviously insulting him indirectly. Rather than blaming himself for not saving money, wasn't he basically blaming Kurama for attacking Konoha back then? Enough already, trust Naruto to handle this himself. Kurama swished his tails lazily. Besides, only physical training won't arouse suspicion right now. As for Fuinjutsu, as long as there's no practical reason to use it, Naruto probably won't use it in reality. And even if he does, it's fine, Minato explained calmly. The sealing techniques I'm teaching him belong to the Uzumaki clan. Aside from Lord Third, the only person in Konoha familiar with them should be my teacher, Jiraiya. No matter their reasons, neither of them would ever harm Naruto. That much I can guarantee. Jiraiya, huh, Kurama visibly relaxed upon hearing that name. HMPH, you don't need to explain him to this old man. When it came to Jiraiya's personality, Kurama honestly felt he understood the man better than Minato did. After all, Kurama had personally witnessed the days Jiraiya spent traveling alongside Naruto. Oh right, Kurama spoke again after settling back down. Even though this old man already understands why you insist on teaching Naruto sealing techniques first, I still need to remind you of something. Don't let Naruto learn about our existence too early. That could create a lot of unnecessary trouble. Minato quietly watched Kurama lie back down inside the seal once more. Although his expression revealed nothing, a question had always lingered in his heart. Kurama had handed Naruto's entire education over to him, claiming that while he could provide Naruto with a tailed beast's power, he didn't understand how humans taught one another, which was why Minato needed to handle Naruto's foundational growth instead. But Minato always felt that wasn't Kurama's only motive. If the godlike enemies Kurama spoke of truly existed, then why did Kurama seem completely unhurried? 0 comments 0 vote. The Uchiha clan. Ramen really is amazing. Walking out of the ramen shop, little Naruto happily rubbed his round, full stomach. It was his first time eating freshly made ramen instead of instant noodles, and it had tasted unbelievably good. And the ramen shop owner had been really nice too. Even though Naruto didn't have enough money, the man hadn't made things difficult for him, nor had he refused to serve him like other stores usually did. I definitely have to come back here again someday. Thinking that, Naruto turned around and carefully memorized the shop's signboard. Ichiraku Ramen. Just as Naruto stepped out of the shop, two figures approached from the opposite direction, one taller, one shorter. The two were chatting and laughing together. The shorter one was about Naruto's height, and both wore dark-colored clothing. "Big brother, can you practice shuriken with me today?" "Sure, brothers." Hearing them mention training immediately caught Naruto's attention. He instinctively turned around to look at them, only to notice the conspicuous fan-shaped crest printed on the backs of their clothes. Sensing Naruto's gaze, Uchiha Itachi's eyes casually shifted toward him as well. It's him. As the eldest son of the Uchiha clan leader and a genius ninja raised on the battlefield from childhood, Itachi knew far more about the truth than ordinary villagers. For example, he knew Naruto was the Ninetales Jinchūriki. Still, that had nothing to do with him today. Itachi withdrew his gaze and continued speaking to his younger brother. "But I can only stay for a little while. I still have other things to do afterward." His younger brother immediately looked disappointed. But before the boy could start complaining, Itachi simply smiled silently at him. Clearly already familiar with his brother's methods, Sasuke reluctantly gave in. "Fine, but then, big brother, you have to, As though sensing something, Sasuke also turned to look at Naruto, who was still staring at them. Then he politely asked, "Hello, is something wrong?" No." Naruto clearly hadn't expected them to speak to him first and instantly became flustered. But very quickly, his naturally friendly personality took over. I heard you talking about practicing shuriken." Naruto scratched his cheek awkwardly. "Can I come watch?" Of course not." Sasuke immediately refused. "Our clan's shuriken techniques." He obviously didn't want someone interfering with the rare chance he had to spend time with his brother. Besides, how could the Uchiha clan's shuriken techniques be shown to outsiders so casually? Did this weird kid not know basic common sense? Itachi had also intended to politely decline. But before he could speak, he suddenly noticed Naruto's stance. Although Naruto merely looked like he was casually standing in the street, once Itachi truly examined him, he realized something strange. Naruto's posture constantly gave off the feeling of a shinobi hiding his openings, prepared to react at any moment. That kind of stance was extremely common among veteran battlefield ninja. But this child should never have even left the village before. Uchiha Itachi was a true genius. And because the Third Shinobi War began only a year after his birth, his father had taken him onto battlefields from an early age. As a result, Itachi's way of thinking differed completely from most people in the village. At 7 years old, he had already become a genin. And now, he found himself slightly curious about Naruto. "Sorry, but not today." Itachi smoothly interrupted Sasuke and politely addressed Naruto himself. "If you're interested, maybe we can do it together another time." After speaking, he gently led Sasuke away. Naruto wasn't too disappointed after being refused. After all, that kind of thing was normal for him. Still, for some reason, he found himself unusually concerned about them. Especially the mention of shuriken. Naruto really was interested in that. It was the same strange feeling again. He had clearly never seen or heard of shuriken before, yet the moment he heard the word, it felt oddly familiar. As though he had already seen them countless times in his dreams. The place they're heading to. Naruto thought for a moment. The riverbank. Meanwhile, inside the Hokage's office. The list spread across the third Hokage's desk gave Hiruzen a headache. The surnames filling the page made him unconsciously frown. The Uchiha clan. Geniuses truly emerged from that clan endlessly. The advisor's latest recommendation is still to continue denying the Uchiha clan positions within the Anbu while reducing the number of Uchiha promoted to Chūnin and Jonin. Standing before Hiruzen, Konoha's military strategist Shukaku Nara calmly analyzed the situation. So once again, they're recommending continued suppression of the Uchiha clan. What do you think? Hiruzen slowly exhaled smoke from his pipe before raising his head. After the fourth Hokage's sacrifice and the Nine Tails incident, the villagers' suspicion toward the Uchiha clan has become far too obvious. Shukaku barely needed time to think before answering. If we continue handling things this way and keep applying pressure, I'm afraid it'll become difficult to justify. So you believe we should allow this group of Uchiha to receive promotions? The Hokage's hat shadowed Hiruzen's eyes, making it impossible to tell what he was thinking. Shukaku glanced at the third Hokage. This time, unlike before, he didn't immediately answer. Because he knew, Hiruzen wasn't satisfied with his previous response. This batch of Uchiha shinobi has already fully met the requirements for promotion. Receiving no reply, Hiruzen simply tapped the names on the list with his aged fingers. Uchiha clan members are still part of Konoha. We can't simply refuse promotions without reason. Then he paused. But, in the end, Hiruzen sighed. Forget it, send for Shisui. Yes. An Anbu operative who had been standing silently in the shadows immediately appeared before vanishing again. Meanwhile, the afternoon sun still blazed mercilessly overhead. Within the sweltering forest, two figures rapidly moved through the trees one after another. Suddenly, the figure in front stopped atop a branch and turned around. That's enough for today, Itachi. The person following closely behind immediately halted as well. What's wrong, Shisui? Uchiha Itachi looked up in confusion toward the handsome figure standing ahead with a sword strapped to his back. Something urgent came up. I need to leave first. Uchiha Shisui turned and smiled gently at Itachi. Looks like today just wasn't our day. I was planning to teach you a trick you could show off in front of your little brother. Alright, hearing it was official business, Itachi naturally didn't stop him. Then I'll head back and see how Sasuke's training is going. Come find me later when you're free. With those words, Shisui's figure disappeared from the branch. After watching his friend leave, Itachi turned and headed back toward the riverbank. But the moment he arrived, he suddenly heard a shout. Watch out! A black blur tore through the air straight toward Uchiha Itachi. 0 comments 0 vote. A change beginning with a kunai. A shuriken. Someone was attacking him. Without even turning his head, Uchiha Itachi instantly sensed danger before he had fully landed. Acting purely on instinct, he pulled a shuriken from his waist and hurled it backward with incredible precision and speed, like an arrow piercing through the air toward the incoming black blur. Clink! The shuriken struck the target perfectly. But to Itachi's surprise, the incoming shuriken was absurdly fragile. The instant his own shuriken hit it, the object shattered into several pieces before scattering across the ground, while his own weapon continued flying forward without slowing down. Watch out! Only then did the warning cry finally arrive. The other person clearly hadn't even realized Itachi had already counterattacked and was still foolishly trying to warn him. An accident. Only now did Itachi realize that what he had shattered was merely a stone. He immediately understood the situation. The instant he landed, he simultaneously pulled another kunai from his other side and threw it with an even more exquisite technique toward the first shuriken he had launched. Thunk! The kunai arrived later yet overtook the shuriken first, striking directly through the center ring of the spinning weapon at blinding speed. The impact forcibly altered the shuriken's trajectory, sending it flying harmlessly into a nearby tree instead. This was why Uchiha Itachi had been praised as a genius since childhood. A near-divine mastery of shuriken jutsu. Whoa! Little Naruto let out a delayed cry of amazement. Naturally, he was the one who had shouted the warning earlier. He had merely been skipping stones near the riverbank when someone suddenly dropped down from the sky. Seeing the stranger nearly collide with the stone he had thrown, Naruto had instinctively shouted to warn him. Yet in the next instant, the other party had effortlessly shattered Naruto's stone with a single shuriken. But what truly stunned Naruto was what happened afterward. The shuriken had actually changed direction in midair. A second ago it had clearly been flying toward him, yet suddenly it curved away and embedded itself in the tree beside him. So cool! Unable to see the second kunai Itachi had thrown, Naruto completely misunderstood the situation and believed the shuriken itself had curved through the air. He immediately ran up to Itachi excitedly and loudly praised him. It's him! Only now did Itachi fully straighten up while staring at Naruto in surprise. The reason he had mistaken the stone for a sneak attack earlier was because the speed and trajectory of Naruto's throw had been astonishingly similar to proper shuriken technique. Even Sasuke, who was already being personally taught by both Itachi and their father, couldn't produce that kind of effect while using actual shuriken. And Naruto should be around Sasuke's age, shouldn't he? Could it really have just been coincidence? I was only playing near the river earlier. I didn't mean to throw it at you. Seeing Itachi silently staring at him, Naruto grew nervous and hurriedly explained himself. I didn't expect you to suddenly jump down from the sky. Then, worried the other party might misunderstand further, Naruto quickly tossed the remaining stones in his hand toward another direction while speaking. See, I was just playing like this. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Itachi watched the stones Naruto casually threw. Every single one traced a standard shuriken arc. At that point, Itachi finally understood. That earlier throw absolutely hadn't been an accident. Naruto truly could reproduce proper throwing technique even with ordinary stones. No, it's fine. After a moment of silence, Itachi revealed a polite smile. Sorry for interrupting you. The instant he finished speaking, Itachi vanished from Naruto's sight with a body flicker technique, leaving Naruto standing there utterly stunned. So cool. Stars practically sparkled in Naruto's eyes. Most of the shinobi he encountered around the village were lazy middle-aged men. He had never met a ninja only slightly older than himself before. It completely broadened his horizons. Ah, I forgot to ask his name. Naruto rested both hands behind his head while replaying Itachi's cool sequence of actions in his mind. Then suddenly, a glint of reflected sunlight from the tree trunk caught his eye. It was the shuriken Itachi had thrown earlier. Whoa, it's a real shuriken. Naruto's eyes immediately lit up. He quickly ran over and reached out to pull the weapon from the tree before finally noticing another long kunai pinned through the shuriken's ring. Huh, why is there another kunai? Completely unable to understand what had happened, Naruto curiously examined the two ninja tools in his hands. Under the sunlight, the dark metal gleamed sharply, naturally giving off a faintly chilling aura. After playing with them for a while, Naruto secretly tucked them away. Then he nervously looked around to ensure nobody had noticed before hurriedly heading home. I'll return them next time I meet him, Naruto thought to himself. Before then, playing with them a little shouldn't count as stealing, right? Meanwhile, elsewhere, after leaving Naruto behind, Itachi entered a nearby forest and quickly returned to the Uchiha clan's training grounds. At the moment, Sasuke was panting heavily while practicing shuriken throws beneath the scorching sun. Sweat covered the young boy's face. Even though Itachi had temporarily left him behind with assigned training, Sasuke hadn't relaxed in the slightest. Seeing that, a gentle look appeared in Itachi's eyes as he quietly stood behind his brother without speaking. Ha! Sasuke threw another shuriken. Most of them missed the targets entirely, and even the few that struck lacked enough force to sink deeply into the wood. Damn it, why can't I do it like Big Brother? Is my strength too weak? Sasuke complained irritably while randomly waving his shuriken around in frustration. Shuriken aren't thrown with strength. Technique is the key. Itachi finally spoke. Ah, Big Brother. Hearing the voice, Sasuke immediately turned around in delight. Seeing Itachi quietly standing behind him, Sasuke asked sheepishly. Didn't you say you had something to do? Why are you back so soon? It's finished. Itachi smiled gently. Come, I'll teach you. As he spoke, Itachi personally adjusted Sasuke's posture by hand, helping him memorize the correct movements first. Under Itachi's guidance, Sasuke managed to hit the bullseye a few times after training all afternoon, though most of his throws still missed. That wasn't because Sasuke lacked talent. Training like this relied heavily on feel and repetition. The Uchiha clan were natural-born shinobi talents. For them, diligent practice was enough to eventually master such skills. No matter how gifted a ninja was, most so-called geniuses praised by others still fundamentally relied on relentless effort to refine their abilities. Under the glow of the evening sunset, Itachi carried Sasuke on his back while thinking about the things that had bothered him today. Aside from Shisui suddenly leaving, Naruto's effortless ability to throw stones with such incredible precision also left Itachi deeply puzzled. Could someone already be secretly teaching him? Meanwhile, back at home, Naruto stared excitedly at the ninja tools on his table while rubbing his hands together eagerly. While playing with the kunai earlier, he suddenly experienced a flash of inspiration. Somehow, he vaguely recalled seeing a strange symbol in his dreams many times before. And it felt like the symbol had been engraved on this very kunai. What was it called again? Naruto frowned in concentration. I remember it had something to do with flying. Trying hard to piece together his blurry memory, Naruto grabbed a brush he had picked up from somewhere long ago and began sketching the symbol according to what he remembered. The Flying Thunder God formula. Kurama sounded genuinely surprised while watching from inside the mental world. But after observing for a while longer, He immediately scoffed. He remembered all of it wrong. The beginning's vaguely correct, but everything afterward is completely messed up. No rush. Hearing Kurama's comment, Minato, who was currently preparing tonight's lesson plan nearby, simply smiled gently. We can take it slowly. 0 comments 0 vote. Hidden moves. The glow of the sunset gradually faded as moonlight spread across the land. After training the entire afternoon, the Uchiha brothers sat together in the courtyard to enjoy the cool night air after finishing the delicious dinner their mother had personally prepared. Sasuke reclined lazily while staring up at the moon with a satisfied expression. The afternoon's training had left him feeling fulfilled, and he was just about to excitedly chatter to his brother about it when he suddenly realized. At some point, Itachi had already disappeared, leaving him alone beneath the moonlight. Meanwhile, the departed Uchiha Itachi was currently inside his father's room. In Itachi's memories, ever since his father had brought him back from the battlefield, Fugaku would occasionally do this. During dinner, he would give Itachi subtle signals that neither his mother nor Sasuke could understand, summoning him afterward for private conversations. You encountered the Ninetales Jinchūriki today. Uchiha Fugaku, the father of Itachi and Sasuke, as well as the head of the Uchiha clan. He was naturally a stern and imposing man. Yes. He is one of the village's highest priority subjects. Once you become involved with him, all of your actions will attract Anbu surveillance. Fugaku stared at his lowered-headed son and spoke in a deep voice. Our Uchiha clan already attracts enough attention within the village. You should minimize any actions that might draw the Hokage's notice. Yes, good. Fugaku's expression softened slightly after hearing Itachi's response. You've always been a sensible child, Itachi. I trust you. Because of the Sharingan, suspicion surrounding the Nine Tails incident has continuously weighed upon our clan. In other matters, it's manageable. But when it comes to anything involving the Nine Tails, we must completely distance ourselves from it. Then Fugaku paused briefly, and I have another task for you. A task? Itachi raised his head slightly. Fugaku slowly looked at his son before speaking. Join the Anbu, Itachi. The Anbu, every major shinobi village possessed a special force directly under the authority of its kage, separate from the normal genin, Chūnin, and jonin hierarchy. In this era, shinobi primarily served as military power hired out by the villages for countless different tasks. But the Anbu were different. Joining the Anbu meant abandoning one's identity and name, becoming a blade hidden within darkness that obeyed only the village leadership. A tool stripped of self. Naturally, Itachi understood what the Anbu represented. But he couldn't understand why his father wanted him to do this. The Uchiha clan was Konoha's largest clan. Whether in terms of strength or the village's history, that fact remained unchanged. Yet despite their reputation, their actual standing within Konoha did not match their fame. The Uchiha clan oversaw the village police force. But that position itself was little more than a facade. Because of the shinobi system, most actual security requests were handled through the mission assignment structure operated by the Hokage's office. The Uchiha police force mostly handled the role of villains. The unpleasant and thankless tasks often fell to the Uchiha clan, which only caused their relationships with the villagers to worsen over time. Under such circumstances, Fugaku, despite being clan head, always emphasized patience and restraint during clan meetings, warning everyone not to stand out and create further trouble. And yet now, his father wanted him to join the Anbu. Itachi, you've always been intelligent. You should understand how passive our clan's current position has become. As though sensing what Itachi was thinking, Fugaku calmly explained. The war has ended. There will be a period of peace. The number of capable clan members will continue increasing. But while more mouths appear, the amount of available resources shrinks. Our Uchiha clan is feared by Konoha's leadership. Because of that, they will inevitably continue weakening the clan's influence within the village. The clearest example is how I've repeatedly submitted requests to increase the number of clan members allowed to participate in shinobi examinations. And every request has been rejected. Fugaku tapped the ground lightly with his finger. The police force is ultimately only an internal village duty. If our shinobi cannot leave the village and gain experience, then over time dissatisfaction will inevitably grow. We need someone capable of learning what the people within the Hokage's office are truly thinking. Spy. The word instantly surfaced in Itachi's mind. It was an incredibly common concept on the battlefield. In many ways, it was practically synonymous with shinobi themselves. His father wanted him to join the Anbu. and secretly relay the Hokage's orders back to the clan. Had the tension within the village already reached such a dangerous point? At this moment, the thoughts occupying the mind of this boy, only 4 years older than Naruto, had already surpassed the concerns of ordinary children. He understood what truly lay behind the task his father had entrusted to him. Still, Itachi's expression did not change. He simply replied calmly. Understood. At the same time, the topic he had originally intended to bring up, Naruto's remarkable shuriken skill, was quietly buried deep within his heart. This boy, who had just accepted the clan's request to become an Anbu spy, already found his thoughts consumed by countless possibilities. As a result, he failed to consider something else. If Naruto truly was the heavily monitored Ninetales jinchūriki his father described, then how had he learned such shuriken jutsu? After the conversation ended, Itachi respectfully bowed to his father before backing out of the room. Throughout the entire process, he never once looked directly into Fugaku's eyes. Although nothing showed on his face, Itachi felt a heavy pressure inside his chest. He wanted to talk to someone, yet he also understood these matters could never be spoken aloud. So he returned to the courtyard. Upon seeing the small figure there, he instinctively called out, "Sasuke, you." Itachi's voice abruptly stopped. Sasuke had already fallen asleep face-first on the ground. A gentle look appeared in Itachi's eyes. Shaking his head slightly, he walked over and picked his younger brother up. After glancing once at the bright moon overhead, he carried Sasuke back inside and tucked him into bed before quietly leaving the house once more. Beside a roadside lamp, Itachi casually scratched the pole with a shuriken while no pedestrians noticed. A signal. After finishing that, he relaxed naturally and wandered through the streets like an ordinary child taking a walk after dinner. When he reached a dark, empty alleyway, a familiar voice sounded behind him. "You called for me this urgently. What happened?" Standing there with a faint smile was Uchiha Shisui. Both mentor and friend to Itachi. 0 comments 0 vote. Decision. During the Third Shinobi War, several figures from Konoha rose to fame throughout the shinobi world. Aside from the dazzling, Yellow Flash, Namikaze Minato, who later became the 4th Hokage, there was also the young genius who earned the title of Shisui of the Body Flicker during the war. Uchiha Shisui, the true leading figure of the current Uchiha clan. Countless people praised his overwhelming talent. He was a descendant of Uchiha Kagami, who had once served in the 2nd Hokage Tobirama Senju's guard squad alongside the 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Because he was the descendant of an old comrade, Shisui was different from the other Uchiha. The 3rd Hokage trusted him deeply. Shisui was one of the few remaining Uchiha who still genuinely understood the will of fire. In fact, after the Third Shinobi War ended, Shisui had openly supported Minato's succession as 4th Hokage. He rejected the clan elders and others' attempts to push him into competing against Minato, willingly returning to the clan and quietly serving within the police force instead. Then, after Minato's death and the Nine Tails incident shifted suspicion toward the Uchiha clan, Shisui once again returned to serving directly under the Hokage. He understood clearly that his actions would invite misunderstanding and hostility from his own clan. But for the sake of easing tensions between the village and the Uchiha, Shisui willingly distanced himself from many clan members, silently protecting Konoha's peace from the shadows. And because of that, the appearance of Uchiha Itachi had delighted him immensely. Itachi was one of the rare members of the Uchiha clan who could truly understand him. Unfortunately, he was still too young to stand on his own. Shisui placed his hopes in the future. If both he and Itachi could serve the Hokage together someday, then Konoha would surely remain peaceful forever. That was why Shisui had always been willing to guide Itachi. He constantly taught him the meaning and mindset behind the will of fire. He didn't want Itachi to become like the other clan members who only knew how to complain and resent others. After leaving the Hokage's office and receiving the 3rd Hokage's response regarding the Uchiha clan's request for promotion quotas, Shisui had intended to return to the clan to observe everyone's reactions. But before long, he noticed the marked street lamp. It was the signal between him and Itachi. So he followed the trail and arrived here. After listening to Itachi's explanation, Shisui maintained a calm expression, though inwardly he sighed quietly. He understood Fugaku very well. Although Fugaku was the head of the Uchiha clan, he was not truly a radical man. Yet now he had gone so far as to send his own son into the Anbu as a spy. That alone proved how immense the pressure on the clan had become. So immense that even Fugaku had no choice but to resort to such an unwise decision. Itachi, repeat your conversation with your father word for word as accurately as possible. After understanding the general situation, Shisui frowned slightly before quickly relaxing again when he noticed the rare anxiety in Itachi's expression. He didn't want to place even more pressure on him. For 8-year-old Uchiha Itachi, the burden of standing between the village and the clan had come far too early. Those problems should have been Shisui's responsibility to solve. Hearing Shisui's calm, steady voice, Itachi nodded and carefully repeated every detail of his conversation with Fugaku from memory. I understand, Shisui nodded afterward before asking. But what exactly happened with the Ninetales Jinchūriki? Itachi then explained his encounter with Naruto after parting ways with Shisui earlier that afternoon, including their brief encounter on the street beforehand. He can use shuriken jutsu. And he practiced it himself. Shisui blinked in surprise. As a publicly recognized Konoha Jonin and, in reality, a shinobi directly under the Hokage, he naturally knew Naruto's situation. So when he heard Itachi describe Naruto practicing shuriken throws with stones by the riverbank, Shisui couldn't help becoming slightly interested. Only slightly. After all, he himself was an Uchiha. Whether the third Hokage and the other village elders trusted him or not, they would never allow an Uchiha to become too close to the Ninetales Jinchūriki. And Shisui himself had no desire to create unnecessary suspicion. More importantly, the current priority remained the growing conflict between the clan and the village. Thinking through everything carefully, Shisui finally reached a conclusion. Itachi, join the Anbu. Itachi remained silent, waiting for the rest. As expected, Shisui continued. But I don't want you to become the clan's spy. Nor should you blindly follow the village. Use your own eyes to see everything clearly. Find your own path. As he spoke, Shisui's pupils suddenly began changing strangely. A crimson Sharingan slowly bloomed within his eyes. 3 tomo spun around his pupils before the pattern transformed into a shape resembling a pinwheel. The Mangekyo Sharingan. I used these eyes to find the path I wished to walk. Shisui stared directly at Itachi. Itachi, you are not meant to become my shadow or my extension. You must use your own eyes to see your future clearly. And make the decision you truly accept. Shisui's words instantly cleared the confusion clouding Itachi's heart. Determination gradually appeared within his gaze, as though he had finally made an important decision. Time flew by. Another half-year passed in the blink of an eye. Looks like this is as far as we can go today. As Naruto's figure disappeared, Namikaze Minato smiled gently, though a trace of loneliness lingered within his expression. Unlike Kurama, Minato's existence within Naruto's mental world was fundamentally different. Although both remained inside Naruto's mental seal, after Kurama shared chakra with him and preserved his chakra construct, Minato could only move within this mental space. He could not leave, could not observe the outside world, could not obtain freedom. In many ways, he was essentially sealed away as well. Minato didn't know whether this was Kurama's way of taking revenge against himself and Kushina for sealing him long ago. Yet strangely, he held very little resentment toward the Nine Tails. If anything, Minato actually felt grateful. As a father, he had failed to fulfill his responsibilities. The loneliness Naruto endured filled him with guilt. And as Hokage, after learning of the so-called future from Kurama, Minato understood even more clearly what kind of danger awaited the world. Any one of the Ōtsutsuki could destroy the entire shinobi world. And yet there was an entire celestial clan of beings like that. Minato admitted that when Kurama first told him about the enemies of the future, his cautious and rational nature immediately assumed the fox was speaking nonsense. But very quickly, he realized. Kurama had no reason to lie to him. And once he accepted that everything was true, Minato's mindset began to change. Originally, he was already dead. The world of the living should no longer have anything to do with him. But now, after Kurama had preserved his existence in this unusual manner, he could no longer think that way. Saving the world. Jiraiya-sensei had once said Minato might be the child of prophecy. Later, Minato entrusted that responsibility to the child he shared with Kushina. It had been both helplessness and hope. Through Kurama's explanations, Minato learned how much Naruto had sacrificed to truly save the world. He felt proud and deeply moved. Yet despite everything, Naruto's life remained filled with suffering. Even after becoming the strongest shinobi in the world, life-threatening battles still awaited him. All of that was his fault. That was what Namikaze Minato believed now. He had decided to help Kurama, to change Naruto's fate. Using his own power. You haven't corrected Naruto's Flying Thunder God formula in a long time. Why? Kurama raised his head and looked toward Minato. According to your observations, unless a technique or memory receives more than a month of repeated systematic teaching, Naruto will probably forget it completely within 3 days. But during these past 3 months, you stopped teaching him anything related to the Flying Thunder God. Wouldn't that make all your previous effort meaningless? Flying Thunder God. Hearing Kurama's question, Minato froze briefly before suppressing his thoughts and returning to his usual smile. Naruto has already learned it. 0 comments 0 vote. Hinata. He's already learned it. Even Kurama looked shocked at first, though he quickly realized something. Wait, then what Naruto used this morning was the Flying Thunder God technique. But when did you teach him? Suddenly, Kurama understood. So that's it. Through sealing techniques. Exactly. Minato nodded before casually shaping a shuriken out of chakra and pointing toward the Flying Thunder God formula engraved upon it. The Flying Thunder God technique is essentially a combination of fuinjutsu and ninjutsu. The formula itself operates through sealing principles. By imprinting one's chakra onto a surface as a formula, it becomes a marker capable of guiding the user's body. As for the later spacetime movement aspect of the Flying Thunder God, that falls under ninjutsu. And since we agreed not to teach Naruto ninjutsu too early, then in the eyes of outsiders, Naruto's Flying Thunder God formulas simply appear to be meaningless doodles. Without sufficient ninjutsu training, he still can't perform any meaningful long-distance movement anyway. As Minato explained, Kurama finally understood. No wonder nobody in Konoha had managed to truly master the Flying Thunder God technique after Minato's death. Even Minato's 3 personal guards had required all 3 working together just to barely perform it. The true difficulty lay within the nearly lost art of sealing techniques. The Flying Thunder God technique demanded both exceptional mastery over fuinjutsu and extremely advanced ninjutsu capability. Almost no shinobi possessed the talent required for both. Naruto, however, absolutely could because of his Uzumaki bloodline. But, Kurama suddenly recalled that in the future, Naruto had once attempted to recreate the Flying Thunder God technique himself. Unfortunately, Naruto had never systematically studied sealing formulas. Simply researching the spacetime ninjutsu portion alone had naturally been insufficient. No wonder, Minato's mastery over sealing techniques had reached such astonishing heights. That was why he could use the Flying Thunder God technique with such godlike precision. Even Tobirama Senju himself had not reached Minato's level. Was that explanation clear enough? Seeing Kurama still seemingly deep in thought, Minato spoke again. Did it help your understanding of ninjutsu? Kurama looked toward him. Those calm blue eyes carried a sharp intelligence within them, as though they had already seen through Kurama's intentions. HMPH. When did you figure it out, Minato? Kurama bared his teeth slightly. Not long ago. Minato didn't hide anything. At first, I thought you were simply concerned about Naruto. But later I realized you always paid close attention whenever I explained anything related to ninjutsu. Then Minato calmly met Kurama's slightly threatening gaze. If you simply want to learn more about ninjutsu, you can ask me directly. Kurama fell silent. He was thinking. The tailed beasts were natural chakra lifeforms. The strongest beings in existence, born with absolute mastery over chakra itself. Whether it was Shukaku or the other tailed beasts, all of them were the same. Because of that, they shared a flaw that barely even counted as a flaw. They had never truly studied human shinobi arts. In fact, they fundamentally could not fully understand or reproduce the countless strange techniques humans created. Most of those techniques were insignificant before a tailed beast's raw power. Yet their principles were not simple. Kurama and Naruto were actually standing at the same starting line in this regard. Kurama was learning too. As for why he wanted to learn these techniques, Kurama didn't know whether he should reveal the truth to Minato. The moment that possibility crossed his mind, he immediately dismissed it. This matter could not be revealed to anyone. Because that goal might be something humanity itself could never accept. I'm merely curious, Kurama snorted dismissively. Besides, even if you don't want this old man secretly learning, there's nothing you can do about it. This place belongs to me, after all. How could that matter? Minato smiled warmly. If you wish to listen, then naturally I don't mind. Although the Flying Thunder God technique is considered a forbidden technique recorded within Konoha's scroll of seals. Minato paused slightly before continuing with a gentle smile. But the current you, aren't you also a member of Konoha? Quote. TCH, I'm only on Naruto's side. Kurama immediately sneered at Minato's overly kind personality. That's enough for me, Minato answered as though it were only natural. Fortunately, Kurama didn't pursue the topic any further, allowing Minato to quietly relax internally. Naturally, Minato knew Kurama had his own goals. After nearly a year together inside Naruto's mental world, Minato understood Kurama far better than before. But Kurama wasn't the only one hiding intentions. Minato himself had selfish motives for teaching Naruto sealing techniques first. Deep down, he still wanted to leave Naruto with a trump card. The conversation between Kurama and Minato ended there. For them, that was perfectly normal. During this past year inside Naruto's inner world, aside from discussions about Naruto and the future awaiting them, the two of them spent most of their time in silence. Yet it wasn't because they lacked things to discuss. On the contrary, there were many topics both sides deliberately avoided despite understanding them perfectly well. For example, Uzumaki Kushina, and the chakra she had left behind within Naruto's mental world. Tonkatsu ramen coming right up. Along with Chuki's enthusiastic shout, the final steaming bowl of ramen was placed in front of the eagerly waiting Naruto. Yahoo! Naruto cheered excitedly before immediately grabbing a mouthful of noodles. He didn't even bother blowing on them before loudly slurping them down. A second later, the heat scalded him badly enough to leave sweat pouring down his face, yet he still refused to stop eating. Several empty bowls were already stacked high before him. From afternoon until evening, he had been eating like a starving ghost reborn into the world. Watching Naruto devour ramen so boldly, the little girl sitting beside him blushed furiously. She didn't even dare look directly at him, only occasionally sneaking tiny glances before hurriedly lowering her head again. The thought, Hinata timidly held out a handkerchief toward Naruto with both hands. Her eyes remained fixed on her own feet as she spoke in a soft, trembling voice. Slurp slurp, thanks. Naruto thanked her unclearly while stuffing noodles into his mouth before casually taking the handkerchief and wiping the sweat from his forehead. Finally, he lifted the giant bowl and drank the remaining soup in one gulp. I haven't had ramen in so long. I'm completely satisfied. Naruto rubbed his round stomach happily before grinning toward Hinata. Thanks for treating me, you should hurry and eat too. It's really delicious. Hearing his words, Hinata stared blankly at the giant bowl before her, which looked several times larger than her own face. By now, the noodles had already swollen from sitting in the soup too long. It was as though Hinata hadn't heard Naruto at all. She merely nodded faintly to herself while tightly clenching her little hands, seemingly trying to gather courage, or perhaps mentally encourage herself. Naruto tried speaking to her several more times, but Hinata remained completely silent. He scratched his head in confusion. Then suddenly, the corner of his eye caught sight of a figure outside. Naruto immediately stood up and hurried away. After a long while, Hinata finally gathered enough courage to speak in a voice softer than a mosquito's buzz. Naruto-kun, thank you, for today. And also, happy. When she turned her head, Naruto had already disappeared at some point. Hinata stared blankly at the now empty seat beside her, looking utterly dejected. Little girl, how do you know Naruto? Chuki glanced at the untouched bowl of noodles in front of Hinata before looking at the obvious disappointment on her face. The flames of gossip immediately ignited within him as he curiously asked the question. 0 comments 0 vote, the show begins. Time rewound slightly to earlier that day. Another night, another dream. Naruto slowly woke up with a long yawn. By now, he had already grown somewhat accustomed to dreaming every single night. Although he could never clearly remember what happened within those dreams, every time he woke up, he always felt strangely refreshed and comforted. It was as though someone had quietly listened to all his loneliness and sadness before constantly encouraging him afterward. Because of that, the hostility and resentment born from the cold stares and mockery he endured every day had almost completely faded away. Even stranger, despite how comforting those dreams felt, Naruto never once felt tempted to lose himself within them. It was difficult to describe. Every time he woke up, it felt like a brand new goal had appeared somewhere deep inside him, something he instinctively wanted to accomplish. For example, the milk expired. Naruto shook the carton in his hand. Normally, His carefree personality would never pay attention to tiny details like this, yet today he unusually found himself carefully checking the food around the house. As a result, very little of his emergency food stash actually qualified as safe. It was almost as though someone had deliberately reminded him to pay attention to expiration dates. "I'll just eat outside." Naruto casually shoved the milk back into the cabinet, changed out of his pajamas, and headed out the door. The moment he opened it, warm sunlight shone across his face, making him instinctively squint. At this point, this had become normal too. He often slept until noon nowadays, almost as though the time inside his dreams mattered more than reality. Fortunately, October sunlight wasn't particularly harsh. It only felt pleasantly warm. Speaking of which, today was a special day. Inside the Hyuga clan compound. Neji wins. Match over. Following the referee's sharp announcement, Neji's fierce gentle fist palm strike stopped less than half a finger away from his opponent's forehead. Under the other boy's respectful gaze, Hyuga Neji calmly withdrew his hand and bowed slightly, signaling the end of the match. As expected of genius Neji, his gentle fist has already reached this level. Even branch family elites 5 years older than him are no match for him anymore. Forget the branch family, there's probably nobody among the younger generation of the main family who can defeat that kid. Hisashi really left behind an incredible son. Praise continuously echoed among the Hyuga clan members. Yet for 6-year-old Neji, many of those words sounded unbearably grating. These people always acted as though they were complimenting him. Yet unconsciously, they constantly emphasized the distinction between the branch family and main family. And repeatedly mentioned his father, who had died an unjust death. As though they were reminding him not to grow arrogant. That he was merely a bird in a cage. Next should be Lady Hinata's turn, right? One of the main family participants who had already finished his match let out a long breath before glancing around. Why haven't I seen her? Now that you mention it, I don't think the young lady has been here for a while. Meanwhile, near the rear gate of the Hyuga estate, Hinata Hyuga was crouched alone in a corner. As the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan, the etiquette of the main family absolutely forbade such an improper posture. But right now, Hinata simply couldn't care less. She was terrified. Hinata had never understood fighting. Why did the clan members who normally treated each other kindly suddenly become so serious whenever battles began? Why did they willingly endure pain and injuries just to prove something? Even Neji Niazan, who had once cared for her so gently, had somehow started hating her. During their recent sparring matches, he no longer showed her any mercy whatsoever. Hinata feared pain, she feared getting hurt, and even more than that, she feared hurting others. Yet despite wanting to run away, she understood better than anyone that escape was impossible. So scary. The more Hinata thought about it, the more shaken she became. Curled up in the corner, she buried her face against her knees. "Yoho, what are you doing?" At that moment, a childish greeting rang out nearby. Startled, Hinata instinctively looked up. Standing there was a blonde-haired boy wearing a bright, sunny grin as he greeted her cheerfully. "It's him." Hinata stared at him in surprise. She recognized Naruto. Back during the winter, when she had gotten lost and was being bullied by some bad kids, he had been the one who helped her and escorted her home. Afterward, Hinata had even secretly asked around to learn his name. Uzumaki Naruto-kun, hello." Hinata timidly returned the greeting, though her voice was so soft that Naruto instinctively leaned closer to hear her. Poof. The moment Naruto moved closer, Hinata's face instantly turned bright red. But Naruto himself was delighted. Because although he greeted people all the time, almost nobody in the village ever responded to him. Not to mention that most children his age only grouped together to mock the orphan with no parents. Hello. Scratching the back of his head, Naruto grinned. Just passing by. I was actually heading out to eat breakfast, lunch." Seeing the blazing sun hanging overhead, Naruto hurriedly corrected himself. Hinata nodded softly. The two of them immediately fell into awkward silence again. "So, you still haven't told me what you're doing here?" Naruto, completely incapable of enduring silence for long, quickly dragged the conversation back on track. Inside Naruto's mental world, Kurama let out a highly entertained sound while watching the scene unfold. "What is it?" Beside him, Minato looked curiously toward Kurama after hearing the strange reaction. "How should I put this?" Kurama glanced sideways at Minato before speaking thoughtfully. Naruto really is your son. He's exactly like you were as a kid. No, actually, he's even earlier than you. What are you talking about? Kurama's words instantly sparked Minato's curiosity. Inside the mental world, many things could be created through imagination, and since chakra bodies did not require sleep, Minato could continue researching various techniques even outside Naruto's dreams. But at this moment, no research mattered more than satisfying his curiosity. After all, Kurama's words had immediately reminded him of certain matters a father absolutely needed to care about. See for yourself. Kurama didn't bother teasing him further. Instead, he slightly altered the nature of the chakra he was lending Minato, allowing him temporary access to Naruto's vision in the outside world. Minato felt the scenery before him distort. The dark, cold ceiling space gradually faded away, replaced by the sight of Naruto talking with a little girl he didn't recognize. And the very next scene instantly made Minato understand exactly what Kurama had meant. Even if nobody else believes in you, that's okay. I can become the one person who does. You've gotta have confidence in yourself. Naruto suddenly grabbed Hinata's tiny hands and stared at her with wide, earnest eyes while passionately encouraging her. Ooh, little Hinata's face grew so red it practically looked ready to steam. What's wrong? Naruto looked completely confused at the sight of the nearly fainting girl before him. Then, this absolute genius suddenly arrived at a conclusion. Ah, so you're still scared. That's fine. I'll go back with you and cheer for you. MMH. Poor little Hinata's brain had completely overloaded. At this point, she barely even processed what Naruto was saying anymore. All she could do was respond blindly while her consciousness floated somewhere far away. 0 comments 0 vote. Hyuga Neji. The loser leaves the field. As a branch family Hyuga member withdrew unwillingly from the arena, Hyuga Neji slowly opened his eyes from meditation and waited for the referee's announcement. His match against Lady Hinata would be the final bout. Normally, before this point, the heads of the main and branch families would exchange a few ceremonial words. But everyone in the Hyuga clan knew that Neji's father had been the head of the branch family. And last year, he had been forced to commit suicide as a sacrifice to appease Kumogakure's envoy. Even his corpse had been taken away by Kumogakure. Because Kumogakure wanted the Hyuga clan's Byakugan. It was a humiliation to the clan. Thus, nobody mentioned it on occasions like this, nor did anyone tell Neji the full truth. In fact, if not for young Neji's extraordinary talent and astonishing ability, enough for him to be hailed as the greatest genius the Hyuga clan had produced in years, the branch family would have already selected a new leader long ago in order to stabilize internal emotions. Instead, they still continued honoring the deceased Hyuga Hazashi as the branch family head. Young Neji was far more mature than most adults. Already attending the ninja academy, he deeply understood that his performance determined many things. Because of that, he never dared relax for even a moment. Main family, Hyuga Hinata. Following the referee's announcement, a tiny figure slowly stepped out from behind the main family members. Under everyone's gaze, Hinata timidly lowered her head. Branch family, Hyuga Neji. Neji calmly walked to the opposite side of the arena and assumed the gentle fist stance. Seeing Neji's posture, Hinata hurriedly raised her own stance a moment later. The heir of the main family truly lacks promise. She's nowhere near Neji. Though the spectators spoke quietly, Neji still heard every word clearly. Truthfully, he did not dislike this girl who was nominally his younger cousin and practically the clan's young mistress. But he hated the main family. After learning the truth behind his father's death, he had come to utterly despise the caged bird seal that bound the branch family. Under that premise, all Neji could see was Hinata's identity as the main family heiress. No matter what dreams or hopes he himself possessed, none of it mattered. His entire life existed solely for her sake. And Hinata's excessive weakness irritated Neji immensely. Because every time he saw her, he couldn't stop questioning. What meaning did his life, and his father's life, truly have? Take your positions. The referee had just begun speaking when. Do your best, Hinataken. A loud and completely out of place shout suddenly echoed across the Hyuga clan courtyard. Everyone immediately turned toward the source of the voice, including the two participants. Standing atop the towering wall was a blonde-haired boy shining brightly beneath the sunlight. Naruto stood there with his arms crossed, completely ignoring the numerous Byakugan fixed upon him as he loudly cheered again. Don't be scared, fight your best. Oh, And you too, whoever you are. You fight your best too. Seeing the boy enthusiastically give him a thumbs up as well, Neji subconsciously replied. Thanks, but he immediately realized something afterward. This was an internal Hyuga clan match. How could outsiders possibly be allowed to watch? Almost instantly, Naruto let out a startled yelp. A branch family expert had already appeared behind him with a cold expression, reaching down to restrain Naruto immediately. This was one of the Hyuga clan guards. Although he wasn't officially registered as a shinobi within the village, most Hyuga clan members trained in Gentle Fist and possessed the Byakugan. Their close combat ability vastly surpassed that of ordinary Konoha shinobi. Even many Chūnin could not compete against them in taijutsu combat. Especially not a tiny child like Naruto who appeared to be only 4 or 5 years old. To this Hyuga clansman, the idea of failing had never even crossed his mind. Yet the instant his hand was about to touch Naruto, his vision blurred, he grabbed nothing but air. Almost instinctively, he activated his Byakugan. With nearly 360 degrees of vision, the dojutsu immediately located Naruto already crouching on the ground behind the wall. He got lucky. The guard quickly rationalized his failure. He must have slipped off the wall by accident and dodged my grab. Compared to believing a tiny brat had successfully evaded his move, he naturally preferred believing it had merely been coincidence. Naruto-kun. Hinata looked deeply worried. That child is Uzumaki Naruto, the Nine Tails Jinchūriki. Standing among the clan members, Hinata's father, Hyuga Hiyashi, had already begun considering something else entirely. As the head of one of Konoha's oldest clans, he knew far more of the village's secrets than most people. He knew Naruto's true identity, the 4th Hokage's son, a descendant of the Uzumaki clan. At the same time, he also clearly understood the village leadership's attitude toward Naruto under the 3rd Hokage's rule. Like the Uchiha clan, the Hyuga clan was one of Konoha's ancient noble clans. In this regard, the 3rd Hokage likely did not want the Hyuga clan becoming too involved with the child either. Enough. Don't make things difficult for him. Thinking this through, Hiyashi glanced toward his daughter's expression within the arena, as well as Neji, who was also watching Naruto closely. Then he calmly gave the order. Just keep him outside the wall. And the rest of you, check the surrounding area for any other intruders. The match will continue. Hearing the clan head speak, everyone finally withdrew their attention. Hinata also sighed in relief after hearing her father say they wouldn't trouble Naruto further. Quietly thanking Naruto in her heart for encouraging her, she forced herself to focus again. Because of Naruto's shout, much of the tension in her heart had faded. Meanwhile, Neji found himself increasingly curious about Naruto. Knowing better than anyone how closed-off noble clans could be, he found it strange that the clan head showed no intention of punishing someone for spying on an internal clan match. Just who was that guy? Still, Neji was a once-in-a-generation genius of the Hyuga clan. In the very next moment, he discarded all distracting thoughts. The attention of both participants returned fully to the match, and Hinata once again raised her stance. Then, the Hyuga clansman acting as referee glanced at both children before swinging his hand downward. Begin. HMPH. Beat it already, brat. Hearing the commotion inside the courtyard, the Hyuga guard sneered while looking down at Naruto from atop the wall. But that uncle only said I had to stay outside. Naruto rubbed his nose and looked up innocently. If I'm not allowed to watch, then fine, I won't watch. But I can still stay outside, right? You little. Veins bulged on the guard's forehead as he prepared to teach the brat a lesson. But suddenly, he noticed something strange. If this kid had really slipped off the wall just now, then why didn't he have a single scratch on him? 0 comments 0 vote. The match concludes. As a guard of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Kosuke considered himself fairly experienced and knowledgeable. As for why Naruto had no scratches whatsoever, there was only one explanation. The brat had genuinely dodged his attack and moved beneath the wall on his own. Under the vision of the Byakugan, crude techniques like the substitution technique or body flicker technique were impossible to miss. So how exactly had he done it? Hey, brat, the look in Hyuga Kosuke's eyes changed. Although he still found it difficult to believe, he had no choice but to admit. He had underestimated this kid. Quit calling me brat. Hey, mister, my name's Uzumaki Naruto. I'm gonna become Hokage someday. Naruto looked up and loudly corrected him. Hokage. Hearing Naruto's declaration, Kosuke instinctively wanted to laugh at such an absurd dream. But he stopped himself. Instead, he slowly activated his Byakugan and spoke while Naruto stared at him in confusion. Just so we're clear, I've got no grudge against you, and I don't care about your dreams. But, I'm curious about your abilities. It was practically a sneak attack. Before Naruto could even react, Kosuke had already circulated chakra through his body and explosively lunged forward with a fierce palm strike. There was no movement the Byakugan could not perceive. Just how had this brat dodged his earlier grab? He would use these eyes to uncover the truth. This palm strike contained his full strength. There was absolutely no way the brat could withstand it. At that exact instant, Naruto suddenly pulled out another shuriken from behind his back. Meanwhile, inside the courtyard, the battle was already approaching its conclusion. Neji's palm strikes were fierce and relentless. Hinata couldn't even fully defend herself, much less counterattack. His attacks came like a violent storm. The moment Hinata failed to block one strike properly, Neji's palm broke through her defense and slammed into her shoulder, causing her to lose balance and collapse onto the ground. So it ends here. Neji stopped attacking and calmly waited for the referee's judgment. It was always like this. Every time Lady Hinata of the main family fell, the clan matches ended there. She never possessed the courage to stand back up. It's not over yet. Yet Hinata shakily pushed herself upright once more. Pain was written clearly across her face. Although there were no visible injuries, the Hyuga clan's gentle fist specialized in damaging internal organs and chakra points. Even if Neji and Hinata were merely children and hadn't infused their attacks with chakra, the nature of gentle fist itself remained unchanged. No external wounds did not mean Hinata wasn't hurt. On the contrary, her entire body ached intensely from internal injuries, and even standing had become difficult. Compared to before, you've developed at least a little fighting spirit. Seeing Hinata stand again, Neji prepared to continue. Boom! The courtyard wall suddenly exploded apart. A figure violently crashed through and landed directly in the middle of the arena. What happened? An enemy attack? This is the Hyuga main estate. How could there possibly be an enemy attack? The crowd instantly descended into chaos. However, the Hyuga clan was filled with elite shinobi. The very moment the wall collapsed, several figures immediately rushed forward to protect Hinata and Neji while the remaining experts swiftly restrained the intruder. To the Byakugan, the dust cloud from the shattered wall meant nothing. Cough cough, it's me. The black figure offered no resistance and hurriedly identified himself. Kosuke, what are you doing? Once everyone saw the intruder clearly, they all froze. It was none other than Hyuga Kosuke, the same guard who had gone to stop Naruto earlier. Kosuke himself looked utterly confused as he stared at the crowd. Why are you all surrounding me? You're asking us why? One of the older clan elders frowned. I should be asking why you smashed through the wall. Weren't you watching that child? Why were you fighting someone? Me. Smash the wall. Kosuke looked completely dumbfounded before hurriedly turning toward the broken wall. How is that possible? I was clearly attacking that brat and then, He stared at the giant hole in the wall in utter disbelief. Outside the opening, Naruto stood perfectly unharmed while energetically waving at him. Oh, thanks, mister. It's way easier to watch now. Completely ignoring the countless Byakugan staring at him, Naruto craned his neck around excitedly before his eyes lit up. He spotted Hinata standing among the crowd. Yo, Hinata. Did the match finish? Did you win? Naruto-kun, are you okay? The moment Hinata saw Naruto, she immediately felt relieved. Even the pain throughout her body seemed to lessen. But before Hinata could move toward him, Hyuga Hiashi had already appeared before Naruto. Those imposing Byakugan eyes calmly looked down at him. What? I followed your instructions and stayed outside. Naruto hurriedly explained after feeling creeped out beneath Hiyashi's gaze, as though his entire body had been seen through. Hearing Naruto's response, Hiyashi lowered his gaze toward Naruto's feet. Indeed, he was standing outside the wall. It was just that the wall no longer existed. But that wasn't what concerned Hiyashi. Previously, whenever he had encountered Naruto in the village, his Byakugan had always seen two conflicting chakra sources inside the boy. Naruto's own chakra and the Ninetales chakra clashing against each other. But now, why had Naruto's chakra become so pure and overwhelming? Could the fourth Hokage's seal somehow strengthen itself as the Jinchūriki aged? Looking at the shattered wall and the still bewildered Hyuga Kosuke, the famously cautious Hyuga clan had experienced something unprecedented. For the very first time, A child not even 5 years old made him feel a faint sense of danger. Perhaps, this child would not grow into what the third Hokage desired. His potential might be far more terrifying than anyone had imagined. Today's clan matches will end here. Hiyashi turned toward the crowd and calmly announced. Neji wins the final match. And Kosuke, report to my room afterward. The rest of you may leave. Yes, although confused, nobody questioned the clan head's orders. Naruto-kun, was it? Hiyashi then turned back toward Naruto, his expression remaining composed. Our clan now has internal matters to discuss, so we won't be inviting you to participate further. Ahahaha, yeah, of course. Naruto scratched his head awkwardly. Even a child could understand he was being politely kicked out. Besides, after all this commotion, it was already afternoon. And his stomach had started growling again. Hiyashi ignored Naruto afterward and instead walked over to Neji. Nodding lightly, he spoke in a calm voice. You performed well. I don't deserve such praise. Neji showed no sign of being moved by the clan head's approval. Instead, his face remained indifferent, with even a faint trace of disdain hidden beneath it. Hinata, your friend did come here to cheer you on. Hiyashi gently patted his daughter's head. I'll prepare a return gift later. Deliver it to him for me. Then, after finishing his instructions, he said something Hinata had never expected to hear. You did fairly well today. Father. Hinata froze in place. Read 50 chapters ahead on Patreon > airatales.com/airatales7. To be continued.